Um, Amazing. So today's session is not about me talking, but I've got you somebody really amazing who is who comes with 27 years experience in the marketing industry. She's got she's the ex-CMO of Randstad. She's got leadership positions in her CV from IBM, Brandcom, Aptech, Vijay TV, you name it, right? She's also an award-winning marketer and a guest lecturer across premium universities and talks mostly about marketing and leadership. And she's also a podcast host. She hosts a podcast on avaz.com that's called Marketing the Untold Story. And that podcast also recently won an award for the best podcast in the education category, right? And it's basically the result of her passion for marketing and bringing together sort of, India's brand creators and marketers who share their marketing stories and untold stories, right? So today, Bhuvana is going to take us through what is it that clients really want, and that's what we're going to unpack in this session and figure out as content creators, what do we bring to the table so that we can get those high paying clients, right? So welcome, Bhuvna, and thank you so much for joining us. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Supriya. What a wonderful community you've created. And I wish I'd known about this some time back. I would have used people from this community from all my content needs. Now that I have access to this community, we will definitely collaborate more.
Amazing. Awesome. So I've made you the host and over to you so you can get started.
Thank you. And hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in today. And if you have any questions, please, feel free to put it on the chat, or we can, take it in the end of the session also, whatever is convenient. But if you have really, questions that you want to ask on that particular point I'm making, feel free to stop me. I think Supriya will be able to see who is raising the hands. I don't think I have access to that. Okay, why, Indian matchmaking? Seema, Auntie Seema from Mumbai is a character who is very, very intriguing. I'm sure all of us have seen it, whether you like it, hate it, you can't ignore it. So that's what Indian matchmaking is about. But for me, it is kind of brings together the point of, I'd done an earlier workshop also on what clients want. And this Indian matchmaking has a few lessons which we can all learn from. And, I'll just quickly tell you, we'll go through what makes the relationship between content and consumer effective and compatible. What do clients or client teams really want? What is expected out of you as a content creator? Here, I will tell you, I've been on both sides. I've been on the agency side. I've been on the client side as well. So I really understand both the requirements, both the frustrations, and the opportunities to collaborate better and bring out not just content, but, the campaign itself, right? Campaigns and whatever you need out of the agency and the client. So do you have shared, there are some questions that we need to ask ourselves. Are there shared goals? Do you see yourself as part of the client, team? Similar perspectives, or do you have an understanding of your business itself, or you just looking at that specific campaign? Are you moving from campaign to campaign? These are essential questions that you need to go through. Supriya will share a ready reckoner post the session. I've given it to her, and whenever you want, you can, kind of connect with me on LinkedIn also. So for me as a marketer, content has always been the essential part of it, the crux of everything that I create, whether it's a campaign, whether it's internal communications, whether it's, exec communications, whether it's thought leadership, or even crisis communications. You need content. That is what it is about. And what's the rishta between content creators and the audience? If we are proclaiming, and this is not changed, right? This has not changed for years and years, that content continues to be king. And so are you the kingmakers? Do you want to be the kingmakers? So that's a question you need to really ask. So content, the rishta actually needs to be, transparent, authentic, informing. It needs to help the customers either entertain or fulfill their expectations out of this business, organization, or campaign that you are working on. And the basis of all this is the need to listen. This is like any other rishta. This is like any other match that you have, any other, relationship that you have in life, right? You need to listen. That is the basic ability for you that you need to have for you to be able to create something good, something better, something entertaining, something informative, something persuasive. So that's the base. We'll take it from here. Before I move on, Supriya, if we can look at a quick poll.
Yes, sure. Give me 1 minute.
Yes. I just want you to answer, the poll is about what do you think the role of a content creator is? If you can choose, I think you can choose more than one or single choice. Okay, you can choose as one. So whatever you choose, then we will come to the answer. We'll take another few seconds and close the poll so that we understand what you are. What is it that you know about yourself, or what is it that you see yourself as? We'll close the poll, Supriya. Okay. Informing and educating the audience, engaging and entertaining the audience, building awareness and identity, and nurturing relationships and building trust. Have got the maximum votes. Let me tell you, the answer is all of this, all of the above, right? Yes, depending on what kind of content you're creating, you might, this ratio can definitely vary. But you, as a content creator, you really need to be looking at all of this. I'm really surprised to see that driving traffic and generating leads is got the least priority, whereas the end result that you need to drive is exactly that. We'll come to that in the later slides, okay? But this is, we can close this. Thank you, Supriya. So the answer is actually all of the above, and humanizing the brand. That's your core job. It is about bringing, I mean, the business is dependent on you. Leave the design and all of that. Yes, all of that comes together to create this beautiful, end content. But when you write content, whatever form you write, long form, short form, for social media, for WhatsApp, whatever it is about humanizing the brand. It's about creating that connect with the audience. It is about creating that, first impression or lasting impression. It depends on what stage your content is being presented to the audience itself. But I was talking to you about me being on both sides, which is the agency side and the client side. My observation of where the whole thing starts is the brief, right? I have seen when the brief is not given right, or when the brief is not understood well, then everything goes for a toss. That's the beginning and the end of all problems. So this picture on the left is clearly how many times things have happened in my career as well. I The team from the client side thinks that they've given the brief extremely clearly. They think that because they have passion, they are very passionate about their brand, about their service, about their product, whatever it may be. So they kind of go on and on, but may or may not have left out the important part. They may not have given you the essence of what that product does or what that service does or what the whole campaign needs to be about. They may have missed out certain things in their brief. So the outcome is this, right? So please, I tell all my content creators, have a briefing document template for all kinds of work, whatever it is. Please have this template ready and fill in. What happens is, don't pass on the thing to, don't just pass it on to the client, say fill this and give it to me, only then I will work. That doesn't show there is a relationship. Fill in as much as if you understood from the brief they've given you, from the the oral brief they've given you, and then see if the entire thing comes to shape with their inputs, with your inputs, and then start work. You will definitely see, I can guarantee you, you will definitely see a difference in the way you're able to create content after you put in a briefing document and you've got all the essential inputs that you need, or the inspiration that you need to create content. So please have this. And if any of you need a template, I'm happy to kind of help you with that at a later stage. And another thing, time, right? Clients, it's always yesterday, it's always today, it's always, I want this now. But do all the clients know, what they want? Not necessarily. So that's why they have you as experts who can come in and kind of show them what is it that really you can do for them. What they give you might be just a list of things, but you are the creative people who can make sense of that. This is like data and insights, right? Data is just data. It's just numbers, or it's just, things that you've collected from various sources. But what insights you create out of it is what is most important for any organization. So this is very similar to that. You have to be able to extract the insights out of what the client gives you. And the client also, I always speak for both sides. The client also needs to understand that you're not some magician sitting on the other side and creating, just waving your wand, and it's not going to happen like that overnight. They need to give you a sufficient amount of time. They need to be able to give you all the data that is required for you to pull those insights, right? And also, the list can be never ending. Okay, so this happens in Indian matchmaking also. There is a list that the groom, or would be groom or bride, give. They want everything in a boy, they want everything in a girl, but you must really know what you must have. The must-haves are really, really important for you to be able to envision exactly what you can take out of this and create, right? So choose what's important for you, and something that they can't really live without, right? Something that the campaign can't really live without is what that you need to take out of what the client gives you, or what the basic requirement that has been thrown at you. So one thing I don't agree with Seema is she says you have to adjust a little and then life becomes very smooth. But that works for marriage for sure, but not for content. You need to be close to perfect to get the match going, because sometimes you just have that one chance to get the message out, right? Once it's out, you can't take it back, or you have to make corrections, or you have to, enhance it, stuff like that. So that's not really possible when you're creating content. So the client is also looking for you to kind of, be that person who's able to create that larger than life, things for them. How can that happen? And what is the crux of what client want? They want you to have enough communication. It's okay to over communicate. It's okay to ask as many questions as you want. And especially in the beginning, it might sound annoying, but it's okay. Please ask as many questions as you need. And another thing that sounds very, logistics oriented, but please take in the initial, when you get onboarded onto the client, please take the team through your process, or within your own organization. You may not even get to the client, but within your own organization, if you have a client team, please take them through your process, right? Who their connects will be within your team, what's the TAT going to be. Please decide together on the scope of working, because that can't change. One, the scope of work needs to be very, very clear from both sides, therefore making it very easy for you to also deliver. See, when you're doing content, time is the most essence. Time is the most essence, right? You're not given too much time most of the time. So you need to be able to have process in place, which will help you and in turn help the client. Okay. And this will also help you deliver those value adds that the client will appreciate at a later stage, and also builds the relationship from good to great, right? Onboarding, again, as I said, brief, yes. But when you're onboarding also, please take time to understand the client's business. This is something I have seen as a big complaint when I talk to the client side, and when there is an agency, they say the agency doesn't understand my business, right? They don't seem to understand what I really need. So take time out to please understand the client's business, who their end clients are, because that business is delivering to an end client, right? Any business is delivering to another client. So please understand what that client wants, because you at the end of the day are delivering to that client. Okay, so please take the time, and that's what will help you go a long way. When you become part of their business, when you become part of their team, then they appreciate your inputs much better. They appreciate your work much better. And all this, guys, I'm speaking with my own experiences. I work with large agencies and small agencies. The problems seem to be similar across. I'm just going to be a little more theoretical here. There is 8 steps to content strategy. Define your goals, right? Understand your target persona, which is what I just mentioned. Who is that end client you're actually delivering to, right? If you're, let's say, creating content for chai brand, right? Your end content is the guy who drinks tea, or you want to convert a coffee drinker to tea. That's your end client. So please understand that when you're writing content, you're writing for that person and not for the tea company, right? Do a content audit. This is an important step, everybody. That means you're going through all the content that exists. Sometimes you're coming in between, you're being onboarded in between. There was somebody else who's involved, so you're coming in between, or you're there from the start also. Please do a content audit of what the client already has, what competition has, right, in that space. This is very important, because then it gives you an understanding of whether you need to create something similar, or do you want to create something that is differentiating. Usually the choice is to go for a differentiating content, because then that sets you apart. But sometimes you also need to be part of the industry verbiage. So therefore you need to understand, and this content audit helps you do that, right? And choose your CMS. I'm hopefully all of you know what CMS is. So please choose your CMS. This makes it very, very easy for you to do your job. And every good content starts with good ideas, right? So please brainstorm content ideas. What I have witnessed, what I have experienced is brainstorming ideas, content ideas beyond my team as well. Not just the marketing team, but I go beyond. I go to the sales team. I go to the customers. I go to I just go and sit and observe, let's say, the competition landscape. So that's how, or I go to a very different team of, let's say, a group of creative, maybe this group itself. I can, I really find nuances coming through when I go beyond my team for content ideas. That's something that you can try out. And decide on platforms along with your client teams or the client where content is going to be relevant. And this is, again, you'll have to get an outside in view. You need to know where the client's customers are. You need to be able to create content for that platform where they are. I'll give you an example. I have worked on developer campaigns when I was with IBM, and putting content out on LinkedIn would not really work, because I'm talking this about at least 5 years ago. Developers are not there. They're there on GitHub. I saw, or on Quora. I need to be able to go and create content for them on those platforms, right? So I need to be able to understand what content will work on that platform. What kind of event will help a developer? So what kind of content will help developers when they come for that event? So I really needed, I'm not a tech person, right? I'm the least tech person in any technology company or in a room of technologists. But I learned technology so that I'm able to write or help the agency write content that is relevant to the developer. I needed to speak their language because it's a unique set of people, right? So similarly, you'll have cohorts that you need to really understand and understand what is that language they speak, what is the platform that they are in, and then write content accordingly. And please do A/B testing of your content, especially if you're creating something new, something that is not being tested. I have benefited from doing A/B testing of website content, of website, traffic creation. So that has really helped determine what is pulling them, what is getting them to drop, what are the hotspots that they have in that particular page. So I have been able, there are tools for all of this. Today, MarTech is really, I mean, when I started marketing, there was absolutely zero technology. Today, all of you are lucky to have so much of MarTech at your disposal, which you can use on every content that you publish and see whether it's working or not working, and then make those changes and then publish, right? So please use that, and always have measurement in your mind when you're creating content. That measurement is really important, which means you have to see what kind of engagement you're driving, how many people is it reaching, what is that outreach, what is that likes, how many dislikes also, or what are the kind of comments you're creating. Please have an eye on what that measurement is. If you don't have access to dashboards, please ask your client teams to give at least one of you in the team so that you're able to see, and then you're able to modify or enhance or let it be as per the data. I really wanted to take you through some of my favorite, in terms of advertising. That's where, I really like some of this content, and I'm sure all of you share this, this likings with me. Amul is a no-brainer, right? It kind of cuts through so much of, clutter. It stands out. It's an age-old tested method, and they go across. Amul's marketing is excellent. They go across platforms. They take this particular campaign and then run it across different platforms in a very different way. They run contests. They run things in vernacular. That's another thing that you need to really, understand. If your audience is vernacular, right? You need to be able to cater to that audience as well. You need to be able to write content in that language, or take the help of anybody who can deliver in that language, right? And it's very relatable. The reason I picked these is these ads have, this content has very unique propositions. And when you start looking at the content with these value propositions, you will be able to also create an Amul campaign. You'll also be able to create a Zomato campaign, or, a TTK Prestige campaign. So that's why I've selected these. All of us remember this Fevikwik one. They use his grandmother, and this guy, fake ho nahi or fake na nahi usko jodo. So by bringing about using the product value prop, and how easy it is, so that even an old woman can do this. So that's what they spoke about. Zomato, I think all of us remember this. Of course, they got into trouble for one of their campaigns, but what they did is they got every brand to imitate them. They got every brand to say, ye chahiye, ye denge, ye chahiye, ye denge. So that was really interesting. It became so viral. Every brand was putting up a post on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. So I really love the provocativeness of Zomato campaign and how they created, a leadership position for themselves through this campaign. This Bliss Club that you see, they use the company's Bliss Club. I'm not sure how many of you have heard or used the product. I love their product. I love the company because they were one of the first companies to address, different sizes, and you still can get into fitness, right? Because the fitness brands, like let's say the overseas brands like a Nike or Puma, were not catering to different size women. So they used movement as their keyword, and they said, adapt Bliss Club, and you'll be able to move, you'll be able to use product, you'll be able, whatever size you are, you can get into fitness. They created that confidence in women. They created that unique niche for women to be able to go and buy their product. And that campaign really, really worked. And they have taken that campaign far into so many, areas. They have now flare pans, and they have daily use wear products. And they also created a niche for themselves by saying our products breathe, and therefore you don't have to use them only for exercise. So they have created that, you can wear us throughout the day. You don't have to wear us only when you're doing exercise. Um, excuse me, TTK Prestige. What an age-old campaign. Use celebrities, emotions, relationship. They started with jo बीवी से करे प्यार, वो prestige से करे कैसे इनकार. Then they felt they got feedback. This is what I was mentioning earlier. They got feedback, and I've spoken to Dinesh Garg also. He's part of my previous episode on my podcast is by Dinesh Garg. I had him on the show. He was saying how they changed the campaign जो अपनों से करे प्यार, because they wanted to kind of make this more inclusive and not just a husband wife relationship. And now they have taken this into Gen Z and across generations. How do you still use a TTK prestige product and still keep it relevant in the kitchen? So that's how TTK runs their campaigns. Oh, this one on the right is my absolute favorite. I remember even just standing up and watching this advert, which is on Fevicol. Please go YouTube it. This is absolutely using the value prop with real life possibilities. This is an ad where you will see this truck going into the desert of Rajasthan, and where people are clinging across, and no one is falling. And then the shot goes to Fevicol at the back of the truck. Amazing ads by Fevicol. You've seen the fish one as well. So these are all masterclasses in content creation, everybody. As clever, this 5-star one is the latest, one of the latest, which is again a brilliant way to create content. They used their 5-star and went across platforms. On the right, you see they've across platforms where they have used just the 5-star rating, to their benefit. And it is definitely a very clever, but one of the biggest ad campaigns in history, and used the app promotion. So just to sum it up, what is there in this? There is creativity and humor. They've created memorable characters. There is cultural relevance. There is consistency and longevity. There is a viral appeal. There's brand association. You can't forget these brands. They have created that long-term impact, impactful taglines, and there is that brand recall I was mentioning. And of course, absolutely humanizing the brand. That's where these campaigns stand out. There are many, many more campaigns. I really love, the latest one today, the one that is doing the rounds on the chai brand, which Ogilvy has created. They've created social network, through chai. The original social networking is through chai. Red Label has done that, and Ogilvy has done that for them. Absolutely brilliant. So look at these ads, look at these campaigns, look at this kind of content where you can get, there is nothing wrong in copying. I would say copying means not absolute chapa copying, but getting inspired and then creating something that is relevant for your brand. So please keep looking, keep studying these campaigns so that you're able to get inspired. I'll not go, this slide is a little heavy, but I'll just absolutely go through it very quickly. As I said, please ask for time that you need to create that content. You need to curate it. So please tell the client, don't rush me. I need so much time. And for that, you need to be able to have archive of content, right? So that the inspiration comes from there, or you're able to kind of use or repurpose content that you have earlier used, or something that has worked in the past for the client, and you can repurpose content. And please understand, this is something that I've seen, especially in young aspirants, that social media, they think content is social media. They think marketing is social media, by the way, which is actually one of my, irks that made me start the podcast in the first place. Because when I was teaching, and even in IIMs or some of the leading colleges in the country, I was coming across inputs from students that they thought, social media is content, social media is marketing. So no, that's not the reality. It is much, much beyond that. There's an entire customer journey that you need to know and go through for you to be able to create content for each of those stages, right? The long form, the short form, the inbound, the outbound. You need to understand all this. And please remember that you need to know a distribution of this content, because that is a queen. Your content is king, distribution is absolute queen. And you can't leave your strategy in the hands of algorithms all the time, right? You need to take help of the algorithms, but you need to understand the algorithms so that you're able to create relevance. But don't make it, this distribution. When you talk to the team, talk to the rest of the marketing team to know how they're distributing this content. Are they making it into a newsletter? Are they, using an external newsletter like IDC, Forbes? They also create newsletter for brands. So are you writing for them, for that audience? Know that end outcome that you're going to be able to create. Otherwise, you could be creating the best viral video, but no one is going to see it. So please remember. And also create the day after tomorrow vision for the, for the client, for the brand. Look at what is the future going to be, so that what do the client want? What does the client really want? They want to be ahead of their competition at the end of the day. So they need your help to do that. And how can you do that is by envisioning that future. What is that brand going to do in the next step? So that you can be one step ahead and the client can also be one step ahead. So please understand from the client what their future is, and then keep this day after tomorrow content, ready. Please understand the purpose, objective of the content. As I earlier said, you can have content that is informative, that is entertaining, that is persuasive, that is inspirational or motivational, that is used for brand building, thought leadership, user generated, or just for SEO, or for customer support, or for sales, or as I said, sales and nurturing, which leads to lead creation. So please understand that purpose and objective of the content before you're creating it. You need to be able to understand the platform, know where the client's customers are, and take them there, as I mentioned earlier. This is, again, a little bit of theory, which is you need to know what the different forms of marketing tools, long form tools, short form tools, and conversational tools, so that you're able, and you can't have the same content going through all these tools. You can't have the same form, going through all the platforms. But however, you can create long form content, right? The articles, blog posts, and curate content out of that for short form, or for social media, or for conversational. You can create one set of content and then repurpose it for the other brands. You can't just but post the link to an article on, let's say, social media, and expect people to read the whole thing. It happens very, very rare. You need to be able to create that crux of the article so that people get hooked onto it and then are able to get back to you on it, right? Please, this is another thing that I tell my marketing team: understand the big picture, understand that marketing and sales work together. Whatever you're doing in marketing at the end of the day is for business creation. That's the basic role of marketing. Whatever you're doing, whether you're creating customer engagement, market segmentation, branding, product, whatever it may be, you are creating that reach, you're creating that prospect, you are helping sales drive that customer conversion. You play a role until then. The final lead can happen through sales by interaction with the end customer, or when they send out a mail, or when they have a meeting, and that final thing will, but until the lead creation is marketing's job. So please understand, and every stage of this, whether it's reach, prospecting, conversion, or lead, you are playing a very, very important role. please understand that you are definitely, part of not just a small cog in the wheel, but you are running that wheel and very efficiently. So if you know and understand this big picture, you will be able to create content that is relevant, engaging, and consistent. That is the most, that kind of brings everything together and is able to go out in the market. You are creating that funnel, and then sales is, helping you bring the clients back to the organization. So both of you, need to have a very, very excellent relationship to be able to do this. Yeah, and when I say big picture, you need to understand that clients who have come to us, right? They have invested a lot of time, to create this business. Creating business, it may seem with the number of startups you have today, it may seem easy, but it's not. They have had ideas, they've crafted product services, and they're very hopeful and to open to potential collaboration. If they've chosen you, they have trusted you. So don't treat yourself as a vendor. This is something I tell my agency as well. You're not a vendor, right? Just be a trusted advisor, so that we are able to have an equal relationship and we're able to speak the same language. Another thing, well, I said you can copy, you can take inspiration. Don't serve a cookie cutter approach. Let's say somebody is paying you $5 and somebody else is paying you $100. If you're going to serve the same cookie to both of them, you're not going to retain both of them. So please understand that. Do not do that. What's the biggest complaint from the client? Do you know that? It is about that my agency, my marketing team is not not the marketing team, but the client team is not being very engaging with me. They're not being they're not very proactive, right? That's the biggest complaint I've heard from the client. So please think about it and see how proactive you can be. This is something I've been coming across again. Is tech going to replace me? There's so much of content on ChatGPT. There's so much of content on AI tools. If content is going to remain, if content creators are going to remain, is it my friend or foe? So I just went and asked ChatGPT itself. So it says content creators should not be afraid of ChatGPT or other AI tools. Instead, they should view these tools as valuable resources that can enhance their work and productivity. I absolutely agree with ChatGPT on this. The uniqueness, the humanness, the ideation, the creativity, the innovation, all of that is possible only through human brains. So please don't even for a minute be nervous about the AI. But please, I was reading about this somewhere that is AI going to replace? And this is a question I've been answering since IBM, because we had AI. Watson is one of the big tools in IBM, and I used to enable my leaders to answer this question as well. No, the person who uses AI will definitely remain relevant. The person who does not learn AI will not be relevant. So please take time out to understand how to use these prompts to your benefit, how to use AI, how to use ChatGPT or any other tool, because you have so many tools that can actually, put out an entire campaign. Today, I was reading about how you can use certain prompts in ChatGPT to create a video itself. So, of course, there is going to be so much of innovation on the tech side. On the human side, you need to kind of be a little ahead of this game to, be that innovator, be that creator, which machines can't replace. So rethink your content, leverage tech, learn, unlearn, relearn. Don't say, no, this is not for me. Tech is not for me. Every marketer needs to be a tech person. They need to understand technology. There is no choice. So please adapt and understand it and use it to your benefit. Also understand that customer is a moving target, and especially in today's time, it makes it a little difficult, but it also makes it interesting at the same time. Right? So creating content for a moving target is slightly tough, but it's really unique space that we are in today's world. So just follow them wherever they go, so you know what they're thinking, what they want, and what they really need you to understand, and therefore benefit the client also. The question that Supriya had raised was what makes two people compatible, which is a client and what you guys are today. So as I said, they've, put in a lot of money and strength into the business. So please understand that they're here to collaborate, hold hands, make it a fun journey, and where they want to have a long-term relationship with you. And when your clients become your advocates, right, please understand that you've done very well. And let's do a quick exercise. I don't know if they'll, would they be able to present it back, Supriya? Is there a possibility, or you can take that and we can go through it later?
I don't think they'll be able to present, but maybe they can share it in the Q&A panel and I can.
Okay.
Um,
So I just maybe like 2 minutes. I don't want to spend 2-3 minutes maybe. If some of you can attempt this, it'll be really nice. Just use once upon a time. And if you can just create, it can be any kind of content, you can just look at it and then come back. The time is 5:25. Maybe we can look at 3 minutes for this. Meanwhile, I look at the questions.
I think you might have to share the screen again. Some people didn't see
Okay.
the.
Let me close this. I just want you to create once upon a time and then
There is one answer that says once upon a time there was a king and a queen. But let's finish that thought. Did they live happily ever after? Or guys, if you have a question, I can see a few raised hands. Maybe it'll be best if you could type them in the Q&A window so we can take them up. Yeah.
once upon a time in a world filled with negativity, I embarked on a journey to create my own symphony of positivity. Very nice, Kulzar. Once upon a time, there was an AI named ChatGPT. Don't overthink. Content writing is here to stay. There you go, Danya. Once upon a time, there was content. Once upon a time, there was a king and queen. Okay. And the content and distribution lived happily ever after. Sudhakar, thanks for listening. Once upon a time, there was a handsome prince who went on a hunt in the forest. Once upon a time, there was a legendary King Arthur who was just ruler who was loved by his people. Once upon a time in a far, far away country, the people were smart and used their intelligence to build a prosperous kingdom. I don't very nice anonymous attendee. Their compatibility made them live happily ever after. The purpose of content journey. Once upon a time in a magical kingdom, there lived a young princess named Aurora. She possessed a rare gift of bringing joy and happiness to everyone around her. However, a wicked sorcerer named Melon. Okay, this is the full story. The spell would make her sleep forever, only to be awakened by true love's kiss. Okay. Once upon a time, a little dream came to me. You know, it was a dream so big and bright, full of. Danya, looks like you're hungry. Evening chai time. I was writing my untold story and I couldn't finish as I was. Thank you, Neelam. How are you? I was on to Insta art. I will write next month. Please do. We'll look forward to that. Once upon a time, there was a lion that roared. It couldn't make sound greater than the walls and was left unheard. Moral of the story, create a roaring content that appeals to your audience ears. Absolutely, Shravanti. A small village nestled among towering mountains. There lived a Jack had always dreamt of embarking on great adventures and discovering hidden treasures. One day he stumbled upon an ancient map that led to a legendary lost city. Wow. Very imaginative. Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. This is really, beautiful for you to create something like this, in just 2 minutes, right? So you can look at your own potential if you put your mind to it and you're able to follow certain. I just gave you Once Upon a Time, which is an age-old thing of storification and right and that's a huge topic, which is why I didn't touch it, Supriya. Storification is a huge, huge topic, and not all content. So that's another thing. It's very easy for people to say you need to storify your content, but not all content can be storified or needs to be storified also. So that's definitely something I want to kind of tell. Should I start taking the questions?
Yep, but first I wanted to sort of say thank you. This was actually very informative and you touched upon a lot of things that people keep asking questions about. So I think that also reinforces their learning on those parts, right? Where you said that you really need to get the brief right, where you have to push back to the client, where you have to be a consultant to the client and not just someone, who's just writing a piece of content. You have to see the bigger picture and say, what is this content going to do for them? So I think thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I know there's like a ton of questions, so we'll try and take as many as
Yes,
we
I will.
possibly can.
Yeah.
Um, and we can take them live. I guess I can read out the question and you could probably answer it right here.
Sure, sure. I also
Yeah.
wanted to say that, some of the agency people are, very good friends now. So that's the kind of relationship we've shared because we did all this,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, there's going to be a strain on that relationship and you can't come out with great campaigns.
Yeah. And also, this is what I keep telling folks, in the community as well, that when you do good work for a client, when they know that you're invested in this for the long run, they take you wherever they go. Like I haven't done any business development in the past 4 years because my
Yes,
clients move companies and then I go with them,
of
right?
course, I bet.
So cool. Okay, I'm going to take the first question, which is from Trisha, and she's asking, how do we ensure that the content we create aligns with the brand's goals and messaging?
It starts, as I said, with the first step, Twisha, of onboarding, of understanding what the brand is about, what the business is about, right? The business creates a brand, right? And what are the brand goals? What is the client trying to achieve? Are they trying to get a share of voice, right? If it's share of voice, then you go with PR or you go with long form content. That's what you really need. I mean, I'm trying to bring in an equation here as well. And the messaging will obviously be according to that, right? And you have to be able to relate to that brand goal and what they're trying to achieve through content or what they're trying to achieve through marketing. I'm going to keep this under the larger bracket of marketing because content is one part of it. So you're part of that team as well, right? So you need to be able to understand what that end goal for that organization is. It could be creating thought leadership in the industry. So you are then That's a brand goal. They just want to be thought leaders in that industry. So you will create content accordingly, you create campaigns accordingly. Or they could be, the brand goal could be, there are brands which don't do much marketing, but are focusing only on lead generation, right? So you're creating content, which is, they go the ABM way. I know of clients, I work with few clients who want only ABM content, which is account-based marketing. So you have select accounts and you are running campaigns only for those accounts. So therefore, the brand goal that is different from the business goal. So please understand that the business goal first, and then align the brand goal, and then you can create that messaging for them.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is from Sumana, and she's talking about, of course, content is a competitive industry. There are like so many people out there writing content, and she wants to know how can she differentiate her content to stand out from the crowd.
That again comes from your inspiration on what you're writing content for, Sumana. It is about, are you able to call out or create a shout out for the brand, right? Are you able to bring that unique perspective? Apple, for example, why do they stand out? They just went after great design. This is something that you aspire to have. That's what aspiration has created that brand, right? That's what they always go for. People invest, a gadi ka paisa into Apple, or an EMI money into Apple because they want to be seen with an Apple phone. So that's, you need to understand that part, and then see, content will come automatically, which is why at least 4 out of my slides said, look at the bigger picture, understand the business goal, be part of the bigger team discussions. So all that comes, your competition. I mean, you still see Swiggy and Zomato in the same industry, but they create content that makes them unique, right? So you need to able to have that unique value proposition, understanding of the brand, to be able to create unique content that works for them.
Thank you. So another question from, she had a list of questions, I'm just reading them out.
Sure.
What are some of the, and this is a question Trisha also asked, that what are some of the emerging trends in content creation, especially because you also talked about ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
That content writers should be aware of. And what strategies would you recommend for content writers to stay updated with these trends and best practices?
Staying updated in industry trends and best practices is easy. Read up, be part of communities like this, because then you have those discussions and you're learning from each other. So that's the easier part, right? And there is so much of content that comes our way on this educative material on the trends and stuff like that. And I also look at spaces like Gartner, which kind of brings in the global approach as well. So be part of those communities, be part of MMAs, look at content that's being created at that level also. So you'll be able to see what is happening there. On the question on emerging trends, I won't say it is only emerging trends you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of what works, right? All emerging trend need not be beneficial to you. Please understand that. You don't have to go and adapt every emerging trend that's happening. Video has been working, always will continue to work for some time, at least till we'll see when it dies. But the video needs to have that hook, right? That's the emerging trend. It needs to be short. It needs to be bite-sized. Any content that you create, which if you have a bite-sized version of it, then you have won the customer, because none of us have time, right? So you have like 13 seconds, 12 seconds, whatever is that attention deficiency syndrome all of us are going through. So you need to be able to create content. That is one trend that you need to be understand. You need to be also aware of trends like user generated content, right? Which means you're getting the customer to participate in your content creation. And that's being done very well by a lot of, clients, a lot of brands today. Voice search optimization is another trend that you need to be aware of. Therefore, creating those SEOs, or SEMs, which help the brand. And also I would say infographics, those kind of content has not gone away. So that is something that you can look at as trends that you need to be aware of.
Brilliant. And I just like to add to one thing that, trends in content creation come and go, but there are some core truths of creation that you've already talked about in your presentation. They remain. So as long as you stick to that, you'll be able to ride the thread, whatever comes your way.
Absolutely.
So another question is how does, and I think this is a very interesting question, how does one manage the balance between creativity and meeting client deadlines in content writing projects?
I'll tell you how I have done that. Maybe it'll help. I always, and that's there in the, the Ready Reckoner I've given you also post for the post-event thing, Supriya. So that you can do by keeping an archive of content and ideas, right? Whenever you get an idea, just pen it down somewhere. You can have a sheet, you can have whatever works for you, Trello board, Jira, whatever works, just put it down there. And whenever you and brainstorm ideas, not when you have a campaign coming up, brainstorm ideas all the time, right? As I said, prepare for day after tomorrow. So if you're able to do that, then you'll be able to churn content out much easier, much quicker.
Okay, so
You're,
then now
yeah, go.
Fahim has a question. And he's asking, what are the red flags that make you not take him on as a writer? And what are the reasons you may say no to hiring me as a content writer?
Wow. You do not display a behavior that helps me trust you. First of all, the content, as I say, skill can be built, right? The relationship needs to be built first. I might trust you with my brand if I know that you're going to take care of it much easier, compared to you might be the best creator but you may never deliver on time. You might have, I've seen, I mean, we've all seen this, Supriya, and you come across people and who have throw an attitude when they come, or they display behavior that says my way or the highway. You do not listen. That's basics, right? You can have an opinion which is completely different from mine. I would appreciate that if you first listen, and then come with your point of view and tell me why I need to go by your point of view. What are those benefits? So I'm actually giving a positive spin. This is what I will look for. If I need to hire you, I need to have the trust. That's basic for me.
Yeah, and for the trust, I think they also need to demonstrate a bit of accountability and ownership, right? Nowadays, because the gig economy is so much, you're finding again and again that you hire a freelancer and then they go missing, right? On the last day, there is nothing to show and the person is not reachable. So, of course, the client is never going to come back and uh,
Yeah, and also they need to understand that whoever is your client partner, right, in the marketing team or sales team, whoever, they also working on deadlines,
yes.
right? And they have deliverables to their leadership team or whoever they are delivering to, or their client or whoever it is, right? So please, if you have the understanding of that, you'll appreciate the relationship better.
So a similar question from Romal, but with a slight difference, where he's saying, as a client, would you prefer a creator who's well known, uh, or a newbie? And what can a newbie do to gain your confidence, right? And how, if you get a cold pitch, what should it entail?
I have encouraged cold pitches in the past. I have taken on newbies also when they have displayed their work, right? And when they have come prepared to answer questions on how they will take my brand further. You have to be able to answer those questions and also answer what is your potential with me. That's all it takes. Of course, I mean, as you will have a trusted set of people you will always work with. And then you are okay to experiment. And it has worked very well for me when I've taken on newbies, because they come with a fresh perspective. They come with a fresh ideas. They're very, especially the young lot, they're very energetic. They're very creative as well. So I'm open to that.
But like you said, when a cold pitch is made, it has to be researched well. You can't do, like you said,
Yes.
cookie cutter approach doesn't work for cold pitches. Also, you have to research the client, you have to tell them what value you can add and specifically highlight that example where that value, can be showcased. And I think people
Showcase
are
something
open
that
to
you've done for my competition. I'll be very happy to see that.
it. Yeah. Okay. So there's one question, how to do A/B testing and tools I think this we will answer maybe later on a thing. And uh, okay, what sort of responsibilities of a copywriter are there in a advertising agency?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What sort of responsibilities does a copywriter have in an advertising agency?
Writing excellent copy and understanding the brand, right? And I know there is this, the timeliness. That's something that we've all seen. Like, I know that creative people work very differently. They work later in the night. There is this, I don't, it's not a myth because we've seen that happen, but you have set patterns that can sometimes come in the way of the end outcome. So work with the team, work with their deadlines. And I think that's all it is, right? That your responsibility is to uh, come out with excellent content. And I will add here, Supriya, is another thing that I've seen is not giving options to the client. That irks the client too much. Agencies usually go with just one option and they will try to convince the client that that is the option to go with. Have at least one more option, and you will win, much easier with that.
Awesome. Brilliant. So I have one question, which is about your experience being on the both sides of the table. And it's been asked, I think, with from two different people. Uh, Copy versus ad copy versus design. What do clients focus on more, and why?
I think it's both. Both have equal importance, Supriya. There is no one cannot be without the other, right? It's important to have a great design in which the copy is inserted. That's how it works. Copy has worked separately also very well in the past, right? You've seen just lines being written and being, consumed by the customer, but it needs that kind of space, and or it needs that kind of platform in which it is being put up. Then you may sometimes not even need the design, and sometimes only design also works. It just depends on that particular campaign. But as people who deliver it, both need to work together, and both who need to, if they're not being given importance, they need to ask for it, but they need to be given equal importance, is what I would say. Demand for it if you're not being respected or given that importance, or you feel in any way that you're not being looked at. Please showcase, talk to your peers, talk to your manager about it.
And it's like how you said, right? It's the matchmaking also, how between client and uh, content creators and content and ad, the visuals as well. Both need to work together to create a fantastic campaign.
Like
Um,
the Zomato ad that I showcased, right? Without that red, it's just red background, but
yeah,
without that, the copy is not going to be seen.
yeah. Okay, so one more question. In this era of information overload, what's your mantra for bite-sized snippets? How do you create those?
How do you create those? You as one is I've seen repurposing content, or highlighting the hook to the audience works very well. And WhatsApp content, again, now WhatsApp has become a nuisance to me, actually, to be honest. But if I see some very creative content coming my way, I do consume it. I will give example of Zepto. The value proposition of Zepto is 10-minute delivery. That's how they started, and they were blasting that, just that, right? They were just talking only about that. They were not talking about fresh vegetables near your neighborhood, nothing. It was just actually, but their value proposition, Supriya, is fresh delivery. But they did not speak about it because they kept the 10-minute delivery as the hook. So when you have that value proposition, you can easily create that bite-sized content.
Nice.
Social media has kind of forced you to create bite-sized content, right? Nobody's going
Yeah.
to consume long form on social media. So Instagram and Snapchat, all of that has forced you to create I think if you experiment, if you've not used those platforms, experiment on those platforms, and by creating bite size, and you'll be able to see the difference.
And I think it's also become important because, like you said, right, reader attention spans have gone. You get so much information every day that you really have to, that message really has to hit the spot for you to be able to say, Acha, theek hai, let me spend some time on it, because you don't have the time to go
I
read through everything.
I was reading, I don't know if you subscribe to Seth Godin. So today's content is about, how there is an and fatigue.
Hmm.
Right. And fatigue is about, because you have to consume this and that and that. There is no or anymore. You have to consume everything. So therefore,
Yeah.
you need to be able to be part of that and journey of the consumer as well.
Right. Okay, so I guess just a couple more questions. One is an interesting question, which is why does sometimes bad content go viral, whereas good pieces don't get that much attention?
Human. I mean, there is this thing, no, girls like bad guys. I mean, I'm just saying the cliches. Look at Indian matchmaking, absolutely rotten content. But it's gone so viral, as I said, you can't ignore it. And as humans, we're curious, right? We want to know what that is, even if it's like, I've seen people consume, I can't consume gory content, but I've seen people go and watch murder videos and whatnot. And I can't watch horror movies, but there is an entire cohort which loves horror movies. And, it's all like to me. But there is good content also that is, has its own audience. And that's a long-term audience. Please remember that you can only create bad content so many times and go viral only so many times. You can't churn out bad content and remain in the game, all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of people are asking also again about ChatGPT, um, about how whether it's going to be you spoke about it though, whether it's going to be a curse or a blessing, but they also want to know that what kind of content will do you see flooding the market with ChatGPT, and because it of course can do much more research, etc. And then how can content writers stand apart from that? I know you covered it in your slides, but maybe a
It's
little
okay.
bit more context.
So, see, understand, first of all, ChatGPT is not an updated one. Okay. It has content only, I think, until 2021. So you're 2 years ahead of it already. Okay. First, understand that. Of course, I use ChatGPT to kind of go in, because it's easier than Google for me to go and kind of look at, all content in one place. If I'm doing research, especially if I'm looking at, let's say, industry level information, like I use it for gathering information and not write my content, please. And all of you would have also heard about, how many people have been caught using ChatGPT content because they're just doing a copy paste of what's happening there. They say as an AI tool, right? That comes across, and people have used that as well, and they've been caught. So use ChatGPT or any other AI tool very, very, very efficiently. Learn the prompts that will help you, right? If you're looking for, let's say, some campaign ideas across the world, and you're looking for inspiration from those, then you can ask ChatGPT and take that information. But don't imitate it, don't copy that content, because that's not going to help you in the long run. You will lose, leave alone, the client getting hold of what you're doing, but you will lose your creativity, which is your moolah, right? Which is your investment in yourself. You will completely, it might be easier in the beginning, but you will lose this in the long term. So use it only to take help, and but learn it, please learn it. It's a very, very effective and efficient tool, I would say. And there are other AI tools also that are in the market. There is so much content on Twitter, guys. You can follow some of these technologists and developers who put out content on how to use these AI tools very effectively, and you can learn also. Please invest time in learning these tools.
I think that's a very important point that you made, Bhuvna, about how we lose that creative edge that we have. Because, like, if you see now, earlier we could do so much math in our head, but now just to do like a simple calculation, we just like run back to our phones or use an Excel sheet, because you've lost that capability, has become over dependent on tools. So, if we If we depend too much on it, on these AI tools to create content, then we're going to lose that creative edge. And I also wanted to sort of highlight that, and I keep saying this to people, that there is a functional content that literally anyone can write who can string two words together. And then there's this magical content, right? Where you bring out those stories of the brand stories, the personal stories, or that empathy and the emotion that only your content can have. Like you said about Zomato and Swiggy, they're doing their unique things, right? Which is what AI cannot do because it doesn't know those personal stories. So that's where content writers are actually going to find the new niche of telling the right stories, of evoking those emotions in people who are reading their content, which is what an AI can't do. And I think that magical content is going to be the differentiator between people who are going to get obsolete with AI tools and those who will continue to make money
You can test
at
it
that.
out, folks. You can test it out. You can see that it's not as creative as you are. I'll bet.
Yeah. Okay. And one more question, which is about what type of people would you like to work with? A person who only creates good content or someone who's both good at content and design? Who would help ease your worries more?
Um, I don't think it's a very black and white answer. I don't know who's asked this question, but it's not a black and white answer. It depends on the person and person to person. I've worked with people, I've worked with interns, in fact, who come with both these skills, right? And I have worked with people who are very good only with content, and there is it goes then they work together with the design person to kind of, as I said, those skills are on one side, people, the trust and the value addition that you bring to the table in terms of ideation, in terms of you have to go beyond your skill, right? To be part of the bigger team, to be a long-term player. If you're, let's say you're into design, but you're able to contribute to content, you're definitely seen as a valuable member of the team. If you're able to say, contribute to strategic ideas, right, you're again seen as a valuable member. If you're able to go and do excellent research about competition and bring that input into the for the campaign, that's again considered very valuable. So I wouldn't look at a person who's not interested in learning. First of all, that is my only thing. You have to be able to open to learning and be able to take up work when there is slack in the team. You should be able to, I'm not saying, you see, if you're a content, you don't know how to design, I don't expect you to sit and create a design. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're able to finish that content and see if somebody else needs help and you're a team player, that's the person I would work with.
So maybe I'll take one last question, and this is about like maybe a little more clarification on how do you find the audience pain points, and also maybe a little clarity on what do you mean by taking a brief from a client.
Audience pain point, I will again let you in on how I have done this. And especially with an audience I did not understand when I was talking about the developer campaign, or I've done for retail as well. A big Future Group was a client of mine, Big Bazaar Pantaloons and all of that. So I would actually do a dipstick, right? And stand in Big Bazaar and talk to customers. Just have
Yeah.
conversations, right? Just have conversations. And I would, attend other Pantaloons used to have this Miss Femina in, India yeah, fashion shows. I would go attend other fashion shows to see what is the unique stuff to bring it to Pantaloon. Or, what was that? Um, I mean, they also had an electronic brand. I'm forgetting the name of the brand, which was, I mean, I've done campaigns for Big Bazaar launching olive oil. So you need to be able to understand if that's going to sell or not and tell the client, right? And create content for that. So it's about going to the customer or going to forums where the customer is voicing their opinion. Let's say I'm investing in Martech or I want to invest in some tech. I go to places like G2 Crowd, right? Where people are putting their opinion, people are rating the product and giving their understanding of how to use that product as well. So it's easy for me to go and see what is really working. And if I was a tech product, and if I'm not there in G2, I've lost out on you. Right. So it's easy to go do dipsticks, understand the customer pain points, go to places like this, go to communities where people are answering questions, where they have other similar experiences that you have, or they have already worked with in areas that you want to work in, and they are able to share inputs as well, right? So we have seen that as part of the Herky community, right, Supriya, where women are asking questions on posh policies or anything. So it's just about being part of those similar thinking, like-minded people. And dipstick has always worked for me. It gives me a direct understanding of what the customer is thinking, and but it's important to have the right questions in mind. That's when you'll get the right input.
And it's also like, as a content creator, when you get into a company, the best first source is to ask the client, right? Because they've been in the business for very long, so they know who their target audience is. And maybe your questions could trigger some thought process in their mind also. So
Yeah,
that's
and always ask for inputs from the business leaders, because they are the ones who are meeting the clients. They are end clients, right? You will see there is a very different point of view that the marketing team has versus the sales team.
yeah, totally. Cool. Thank you so much, Bhuvana. I think this was very enlightening. Lots of good stuff that you told us. And really, really thank you for your time for coming here. And I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. I was thrilled to do this even when you started asking about this, and with all those questions and the interactiveness. Thank you so much, guys. This wouldn't have been as lovely as this was if you had not come up with these questions. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity, Supriya.
Brilliant. Good. So guys, last minute thing, some questions we couldn't answer, we'll send you an email. And like Bhuvna mentioned, there is a worksheet just prepared for you guys. So we're going to send that over to you as well with the recording of this call. Thank you for your time today and have a great weekend, all of you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.